Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, July 14, 2014, 7 p.m. Daniel S. Rivera, Selectmen's Chamber. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord Hamilton, please fix the calendar. A little tardy, but glad you're here now. Item 3, public comment. Does any citizen like to ask a question or make a comment? Mr. Lucia, your hand was up first.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Lucia, 145 Woodstock Hill. I get time too. I just need to know if anything has been settled with the property over on Bowl Street. Has there been any kind of agreement as far as that plot of land goes? And also, the person that lives adjacent to that property continues to mow the lawn and take care and do some gardening. Now, if it's town property and he gets hurt on that property, the town is liable, correct?
Say so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to know that, make everyone aware, and you are now aware, that this has been continued. It has continued to be mowed, intended to, and it is town property.
On Bowl Street.
On Bowl Street.
Is that squared away?
No, still in the court system.
Okay,
As
that's,
soon as it's done, no,
I just need to, all right, I'm unaware.
And when it's in a court.
Yeah, that I understand, so I was unaware.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else like to make a comment, ask a question? Yes,
I
sir.
have a question. I've been hearing rumors that the school renovation is being stalled.
Name?
Huh?
Name and address, please.
Scott Tavazian,
Thank you.
4 Shepherd Lane, Putnam, Connecticut.
You heard rumors, Scott, that the building committee is on a halt?
Yes, that the project is
No, it's not. I'm on the building committee,
okay.
and we have a meeting coming up, I believe, next week.
All right.
The 44th, 45th.
My only suggestion, I should have probably came earlier, is I know when we do schools, the state reimburses us. I would like you guys to maybe consider attaching, when all the schools get built in Connecticut, they redo all their fields.
Redo what?
They redo all their fields, recreation, well, rec, or their high school fields, all that. I've coached Little League here for many, many years. Consider maybe doing Murphy Park, because we have one field for our high school, our middle school, and our juniors and seniors program playing in that one field. Our Little League is constantly flooded because of the drainage off of Recreation Road. We're probably one of the only towns in Connecticut that constantly cancels games because we have flooding onto our field. We have to move games. We were supposed to have 2 all-star games here last week, softball and baseball. The baseball team had to go away because they wouldn't allow us to play 2 games on that one complex because there's no fence. Right now, my juniors program is playing in the championship series. The senior softball is playing in the championship series. 2 years ago, our juniors program won the district. Baseball takes a hamper. When we've got fall ball, I get 1 day of practice on Fridays. I get 1 game on Saturdays, and our football is all over the place. And my only thing is WPTP, Woodstock, Putnam, Thompson, Pomfret. They get trumped over us when we're just an all Putnam program. They could go to Woodstock one day, they don't. The fields down there need to be reconsidered. I really think that, and if we can get it into with the building where the state's willing to replenish 85% of it.
It's already been gone through the voters for town meeting for vote, and so you can't add anything else onto that.
Okay.
It has to be separate.
My suggestion, Scott, would be to go to a school board meeting and propose that to the school board.
Okay.
Because when they do their budget for next year, this way they can put line items in there for renovating the fields that basically they use, and the town uses. Everything comes under the town.
Yep.
The usage is basically the schools. So that would be helpful if you would do that.
Okay.
And bring some friends with you.
Okay.
the school board's hate when a lot of people come.
And we're behind you on this.
I mean, we've put in money to look at flipping a field the other way so we could get two, but literally can't afford that, you know, it's just, we're hampered just like you guys are.
Sympathetic, but I would think the number one thing would be start now, go to the next school board meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, inundate them with, say, these are the kids, here's what we need.
I see what kids coming from towns that don't have stuff, I deal with them as grown adults in prison. The more opportunities we give our kids, the more educational benefits, the less trouble we're gonna be dealing with.
No question.
Okay. Thank you.
for coming. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Since you're on the school project,
I intended to give your name and your address for the record.
Howard Bowl, 476 East Lincoln. Last time I was here, there was some talk about the fact that you were throwing away an auditorium. You're going to spend $5 million on sheetrock. And then recently I've heard that the gymnasium is going to be new, but won't meet Connecticut standards for usage for championship games. So you got a lot of trouble with something. You're spending $36 million and you're just letting it flow over the dam. I think it's time to just stop and say, hey, we need some definitive specifications that are something we can bank on. To have somebody come in here and say, well, it was going to be $2 million, it's going to be $5 million, we're going to spend over here instead of over here. Did the voters give you that type of permission to just take $36 million and just run it the way you want it? Didn't you have to put some specifications to the voters to get this project underway?
No.
Ridiculous.
I can tell you this. The gym is going to be a standard-sized gym, as we know it in the state of Connecticut. The one we have in Putnam is probably 15% smaller than the standard-sized gym. And it will accommodate tournaments, and we'll have 500 seating capacity, all the requirements as set forward. So I don't know where you're getting your information with regard to the gym size.
I actually heard the same thing. That the seating capacity in the new gymnasium was going to be like 5 or 10 seats short of what CIAC required to have a state tournament game there. I did hear that.
I heard 1,000 show.
Doug, when I happened to open an email, I happened to open an email from Nancy Cole to the building committee. And the only reason I opened it said gymnasium, which piques my interest. I hit it, and I'm looking at the thing. I can't bang a nail straight, nor can I read blueprints, but I looked at the specifications, and at the time it was 375 seating capacity. I called Hall. I said, I don't want to be Budinsky. I'm not on anybody's committee, but I said, according to the CIAC standard, you need 500 to host a CIAC tournament game. He in turn, and Scott Pempek got involved, and a bunch of other people got involved, and it was really small in the gym right now. But since then, it has been taken care of. It's act to capacity, which would facilitate the state tournament game. The lines are moved over. There's room on both sides, and there's protection under the basket for the kids. So it's right now, it's in pretty good shape. But I had wished that the building committee went to Ellis Tech and took over their new gym, no bells and whistles, but a perfect high school gymnasium. So everything's okay.
Can I follow up on that?
You can follow up, Mr. Bo.
Thank you. Doesn't it seem that the building committee should be instructed to bring you forth what their final proposal is?
According to the state, the building committee has to bring it to us. They have a building committee that is their sole charge is for this school, which permission at a town meeting referendum vote to do it.
For that amount.
For that amount, $36.6 million. What they put in there is their legacy.
Unbelievable.
You're right. I haven't found an architect or an engineer that's ever coached a game in a gym. I have not found an architect who's been in a locker room, yet they've got all the answers. So they have to live with their mistakes.
throwing away an auditorium seems to
Have
be.
nothing to do with that.
Well, you know,
Our town administrator and Selectman Benoit and Selectman Penbeck are on the building committee. Hopefully they'll steer them in the right direction.
You don't push.
Try and push, but you know, there's only so hard you can push. Okay, anybody else?
What do you suggest that the public do?
Public's out of it. Public voted for the renovations. That's it. That's their charge. That's it. They can't add, they can't detract, they can't say put a new bathroom over here, put this over here, we want this kind of light. Done. State law, not us. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Richard Hugasian. I live at 11 Shepherd Lane in Putnam, Connecticut. I'm a union organizer for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers out of Worcester, Mass. This is not my jurisdiction. I live in Putnam. But I just talking about the school here. It is obviously it's a prevailing wage job. So whoever you award this, the general contractor to be safe on your side, I would make sure that he goes union because you do get what you pay for. The cost is cost, no matter what. They will nail you on extras. Before you know it, you're going to be way up here when the original cost was here. So do the smart thing and try to go with a general contractor who will use union labor. I'm sure there's a lot of union people that live in these surrounding towns that would love to come
We
here to
are
work.
looking at that first and foremost of the surrounding towns. We don't have enough of capacity, even in the surrounding towns, to handle all the different, like electricians and plumbers and whatnot, so we have to go out of district sometimes. But
Well, that's fine,
We're
but I'm
very
sure-
cognizant of that
Okay,
information.
well, thank you. I think that's a great point. Because they're out of Hartford local can man this no problem at all.
On that same token, the YMCA, which is going to be built right here near the new tech park,
Yes?
asked me for a list of all local electricians, plumbers, carpenters. They want to hire just local people to construct that.
Well, that's a good thing. I think they should be.
I think it's an excellent thing.
It is.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir. Mr. Perry.
John Perry, 11 Bull Street. Last year, they put in handicap parking in the parking lot. It's been totally abused. I've tried to talk to Chief Hayes about it and Special Service District, and they're totally ignoring me about it. So I'm here tonight to show you that, including my neighbor who across the street from me, his daughter-in-law, her daughter-in-law abuses it too. And I have the policy of Connecticut's handicap law. And the police department is choosing how they want to enforce the law. But it's pretty straight out. First time offender, $150 fine. Second time, $250. Third time, your car gets impounded. And they're refusing to follow that law in this town. As mayor, I would hope you would straighten this out.
First come my attention, I will call Chief Hayes tomorrow morning and present him with this thing and tell him to.
I'd like to see them taken out because it constantly gets abused daily. People, the tenants between the tenants, or when there's games, people just parking there because there's nowhere else to park.
So noted. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Bring that to our attention.
And the other question, my neighbor, Mr. Lucy, the town hasn't mowed that little tiny piece of property in 40-some years. My father, me, and my brothers have taken care of that property for 40-some years. So if you want to chew somebody out, chew out Willie Busquet and his crew, because they're not doing their job.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Deneau.
Yes, David Deneau, 85 Vandale, Putnam. I want to thank all the citizen participants for coming this evening. This is the most I've seen since I've been coming here for over 6 months now. And without citizen representation, then there is no democracy. I thank you very much, and please tell your friends to do the same. The question that I have for the Board of Selectmen, which I haven't seen in so long, this has been a while, I feel like it's a hometown reunion, is in regard to the town meeting of May 14, 2014, when the budget was approved. And item 8 here, which I'll read briefly, to consider the act of recommendation of the Board of Finance that a capital appropriation of $1,262,000 be made beginning July 1st, with the following recommendations, which they noted A through E. On the following page, the next number 9 was to authorize the treasurer and the Board of Finance to internally borrow from the Asheville certain amount of capital items, said borrowing interagency loan not to exceed the amount that I just previously read, so on and so forth. The question is, I followed all of these meetings, 3 Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen's meeting. At no point did I ever hear anyone make this recommendation. So my question is, who, when, and how did this sneak in?
You mean beforehand?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
What meeting was that?
Prior to signing.
Yeah. Before the town meeting, we as a board approved to send that to town meeting. I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So that would have been in April sometime?
Probably April, yeah.
All right. Well, that was my question because I guess I was asleep at the wheel. These meetings are so exciting. Thank you very much.
You've been too busy.
Pardon me?
You've been too busy.
That could be it too.
In fact, we actually had discussions on trying to change that amount. In fact, I remember having,
Right.
Yeah, reduce
having
it.
those talks, yeah. Some of us didn't want to borrow that much.
Thank you, Mr. Deneau. Item 4, approval of minutes, June 16, 2014, Board of Selectmen minutes.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes. Is any discussion, any deletions, any additions?
Yes.
Douglas?
I called Denise about making a minor change, correction to letter D under new business, that it wasn't a unanimous vote. I actually voted against that motion. So as long as this motion includes that correction, then I can vote in favor of the motion.
Okay. With that correction, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, so voted. Petition of communication, letter dated June 9th, 2014, from Wheeler Grader, the following report on the forced main pH probe malfunction, and letter dated June 13, 2014, from Wheeler Grader regarding the ash residue uses 2014 update. Letter dated June 16th, from Wheeler Grader regarding the topographical map 2014 update, and the map can be reviewed in the mayor's office during normal business hours. D, CD dated June 20, 2014, from Wheeler Grader regarding discharge monitoring report. Second quarter 2014, report in its entirety can be viewed in the mayor's office during normal business hours. Later dated June 24 regarding the discharge monitoring report. May 2014. This report in its entirety can be reviewed in the mayor's office during normal business hours. F, letter dated June 27, 2014, from Wheeler Grader regarding the recyclable metal recovery demonstration.
One question.
You got it.
A, Doug, is that finally corrected as far as the pH probe problem malfunction?
I have not heard back yet, so I'll check it
Because it seems to be continual.
Yeah.
And they had, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 times they went back at it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be more serious than how they've been addressing it. So I'm a little concerned with that.
I'll check on that and get you a response tomorrow.
Say with that, Pete?
Yep.
Okay. 6, report of standing committee, General Government Committee, Codification. I know Alma Maury's been going crazy trying to contact Chief Hayes, and they've been playing phone tag, and he's in, she's out, she's in, he's out. So do you have anything to say on codification, Alma?
Just that as soon as he gets me some available dates, it'll be out to the committee and we'll fix something and get it done.
Yeah, we gotta get that one on the list.
Okay.
What's that?
7, reports of special
He always
committees,
already
Wheeler
cut for
Grader
that.
Contract Review Committee. Doug, a little insight on that?
Yes, we had a very good working session at the last meeting of the review committee, and we have we have scheduled another working session for July 30th, and hopefully we'll put the finishing touches on it and present it back to the Board of Selectmen probably September.
When you say you got the final touches, so the general public understand what you're talking about, basically, without giving any secrets away, ballpark, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about they're coming back to us to expand the landfill. They have a right of first refusal on a property that abuts it. And in discussions with them, we're coming up with a new pricing scheme where we'll be guaranteed a certain amount according to our current pricing on the first 200,000 tons. Then there will be a blended rate, and then the third one, I forget, goes back to the original price. And then And the other thing is, it would be extending the contract for a period of time beyond what we have the existing 20 years, which are about 17 years, 14, 15 years into right now. So we'll extend it to another period of time.
Perfect. Very good. Charter Revision Study Committee,
We have a meeting tomorrow night
tomorrow night, there's a meeting at 6:30 on the Charter Revision Committee,
at Delphi Varies, if anybody's on the Charter Revision.
156 Main Street, Delphi Varies. I've given Doug a list of 3 or 4 or 5 things to change, and we're going to try and attack this and get this thing up to 2014. Facility Study Group.
We got 2 appointments tonight, and after that, probably we'll schedule a meeting.
Well, they're up for approval by the Board of Selectmen. I did appoint 2 people to add to that committee. Once the Board of Selectmen submit them in, schedule a meeting and get moving on that. Staff reports, Economic and Community Development. You all received that?
No.
It's in a paper-clipped bunch of
We got it.
papers.
We got it tonight.
Yes, Delphi, it wasn't available prior.
It wasn't available prior to the meeting, so there'll be no questions because you don't have time to read that.
Well, the one question I had is,
Go ahead.
I see a little work down from where 86 Main was, you know, where the old Point
Yes.
building is. Sort of looks like they're doing a little work on the foundation a little bit or
The
something.
foundation, they've been doing a little brickwork on the 1, 2, 3 little posts. I've contacted that fellow who's supposed to own it or hold the papers on it several times and told him to get moving. I don't know if I can do that, but I did it anyhow. Because you got Girardi's, a beautiful looking building, 88 Main, $400,000 for the new facade. This is an eyesore. And the guys, if he moved any slower, he'd be dead.
But is there a plan in, I guess my question, is there a plan in place or anything that you know
He
of?
has an active building permit, and that's the problem, is that he can come in, you know, a day before his building permit is up again, and he can renew it without showing, you know.
Is he trying to sell it, you think?
Well, I see there's a realtor's sign on it, so.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, you look through Putnam, that's the only eyesore
It
really
is.
left. If you,
It is. It's been noted by a lot of people, and we're bringing people in to look at the loss at Cargill Mill Falls there, bringing people in to look at 88 Main for possible clients.
Right.
And they see that thing, and it's unfortunately, it's something we have to live with. Building official ZEO report, that's in your package. Anybody have any questions? We have Don here.
Tonight.
Town planner, any questions on the town planner's report? Assessor's report, no support submitted. How about Mr. Doug Cutler's report, which is usually lengthy, and people like to pick on Doug? Anybody have any questions for Doug?
Number 5,
I knew that was coming.
foreclosed properties, blighted properties. That really isn't a real issue. Campaigning last year, I must have seen at least 60 or 70 foreclosed buildings. And the sooner we can do something with that, the better, because I think it just hurts the town and it hurts the real estate value per house in the town. The value goes down, as you know.
Right.
So anything we can get.
Well, I think that their regular meeting, they are going to schedule a working session at their September meeting of the Economic Development Commission. They meet about 8 o'clock on the second Tuesday. So I know Scott's the representative. I think Scott and I don't know who else. Renee's the representative, but you know, you'd be more than welcome to attend that meeting. So we're going to start putting together sort of not a white paper, but a briefing paper on the situation. So.
It's not just here, Peter. Blight is such an issue because town officials are sheriffs without a gun. You know, you can tell them 1,000 times. I'll read a little thing I just received from this magazine, which just takes care of all 169 towns. The Ansonia ordinance takes a bite out of blight. Increased penalty and other sanctions are giving officials in Ansonia tools to get tough with property owners that need motivation to maintain their buildings and lots. Penalties include a $100 a day fine for violators, increased to $250 a day for fines that aren't paid within 30 days. If the owner doesn't address the mess within 10 days after the notice, the city can either use an independent contractor or city workers to clean up the mess. The cost of the cleanup will be filed as a lien against the property. Property owners do maintain the right to appeal 10 days after the notice of violation. So this comes out every month, and every month there's something in there about blank. And every town's having the same problem. I canvassed the 16 towns that are involved in NEASC, and they all have the same problem. They have a blight enforcement officer. He goes there, he tells them, you have to fix this up. They don't fix it up. He gives them the second notice. The third time, he gives them the fine. They don't pay the fine. What do? Throw them in jail? I got to feed my family is the answer. So it's a very difficult question. Cold-hearted Doug says, throw him out, put him in jail.
That Doug?
No, definitely not this time.
So that's the, and it's an aggravating problem here.
One more for your cousin Doug on the other side here, Mr. Cutler, is we still have the issue as far as the standing ordinance, the bidding ordinance that we have in place as compared to the state bid. And I was alluded to Tony before. I definitely want to have a meeting, at the very least, between the three of us. I don't care if you want to bring in Scott Pembeck or whoever you want to bring in. My big till with this is the legality of it. I want to follow the rule of law, and I'm not sure we're doing that. My second is whatever's in the best interest of the town of Putnam, if we can save money. But first, the legal ramifications come up with that.
So you're asking for a meeting with Bill St. Ange,
You and him at the very least.
mayor, town
Myself.
administrator,
Yes.
yourself, and Pembeck.
Right.
Okay? Take care of that tomorrow. Unfinished business, 10, town administrator's contract extension. Huh, you're under the gun.
Me. I tried to set up a meeting with Bill on that issue also.
Don't you want to receive anything? Where is this going?
He's donating
Well,
the
so
salary
next-
back to the
You
town.
donating it back?
Until the next board comes into play, I guess. No, I'm gonna set up a meeting with Bill. We can talk about that tomorrow. We'll
Okay.
talk
I
to
actually
Bill.
have an email him today, and he did get back to me saying that Doug did schedule something, but it did get put on the back burner, so it's going to be soon. So hopefully we'll have that meeting with him, and then the committee will meet, and then we'll bring it back to the selectmen.
Item B is Quinnebog Regional Tech Park.
One new thing that I'd like to bring up under that, if it's all right, is that we acquired the deed today to the land on the east side of the Quinnebog River that will give us the access to the right-of-way for the road and any utilities that will have to be put in on that side of the Quinnebog River. And again, it provides us access to the Kennedy Drive. So that's another thing that can be checked off. The other thing you have in your packet that you just received is one of the reasons that we've been working with Bill diligently on another matter, which is the quitclaim deed to the Greater Hartford YMCA. You have a full copy of the quitclaim deed. I gave you a brief memo that basically sets out what the terms of that quitclaim, say that 3 times quick, the deed entail. There's transfer of 2 lots, lot 1, which is 6.33 acres, and lot 2, which is 8.57 acres, which gives them the 15 acres. It is divided by the roadway that the new roadway we're putting in to access the tech park. There are conservation easements that are on both lots, and this is a requirement of the record of decision we have from the state environmental impact evaluation. And these easements are in the town's favor, so
In what way?
that we got to ensure that they're not being built on, and there are certain things that you can't do in there, like dump leaves and that type of thing. So we have to make sure that those we live up to the easements as required by the record of decision. I don't know if anybody else was on the board. Maybe Owen goes back that far, but in June of 2011, before we had the referendum, we came to an agreement the board came to an agreement on a memorandum of understanding that controlled the donation of the property to the YMCA, and that memorandum of understanding is incorporated into the quitclaim deed and includes a right to repurchase should the YMCA center not be built, and if the YMCA decides to sell to a third party, then the town has a right of first refusal. And both lots are also subject to various cross easements of gas lines, roads, and utilities, etc. and the YMCA is required to provide appropriate fencing and a 100-foot buffer between play areas and the road. And this is primarily on Lot 1, which is the small lot where the playing fields are going to be. And that was primarily a requirement of Wheel Grader because there's a lot of truck traffic that goes through there, so they want to make sure that that was safe as possible. The other thing that's in the requirement is that any access is not going to be allowed on grade to get from one lot to the other. It either has to be through a tunnel or a bridge over the road. So those are the requirements of the quitclaim deed that have to be fulfilled by the Y when we give them the deed.
Why wasn't this processed before? It seems to me that we're late in the party in terms of this deed being issued. Am I not?
Well, a lot had to do with all the things that came before, which was the arrangements, not the arrangements, but the negotiations that we had with Wheel Grader,
Right.
YMCA, and the NUTH, as you recall, all those meetings leading up to this.
So this is the back end of that.
That's correct.
So are you saying that not only our attorney, but their attorney was working with our attorney to bring this to a conclusion?
That's correct.
And at one point, Peter, there were 4 different lawyers working on the same thing. And anytime you get 4 lawyers doing something, you know it's going to take forever.
And the other thing is we could not use Bill St. John because he had a conflict. So the one attorney that had the most history of the whole.
Who was it? Who did you use?
We used Ernie Cotton. We kind of do a selection of people in town, whether it's Ed Higgins or Ernie Cotton or some folks that have municipal
No,
experience.
I can understand if there's a conflict of interest, we certainly can't participate.
Also on the regional tech park, with this easement that we got and the boulder situation done, there's only one more hurdle, and that's the flood
management certification.
Flood management. Because we moved the boulders, now they have to come back and study it and make sure that they just do things to create jobs for themselves. So that's a small hurdle left. That's it. And then it could properly go out to bid. Finally. Okay.
So if you could make action tonight to authorize the mayor you to execute this in substantially the form that
I have a question.
yes.
Since we just got this tonight, can we put this off until the next meeting so we can go through it thoroughly, individually,
Sure.
and know what it is that we're voting on? Would that be possible?
Would you like to table this until the August meeting?
Yeah, just give us a month to look
I mean,
at it.
that's not gonna kill us,
Again,
right?
it doesn't even need to be tabled.
Well, it's sort of considered in the Quinebaug regional section.
Oh, okay,
That's why I brought it up.
okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We don't need a motion.
Yeah, you should.
I'll make a motion, we table this for 1 month until August.
Motion made, second table for further study, the quick claim deed to Greater Hartford YMCA. Any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any
Thank you.
abstentions?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take it care of. Number 11, grant consideration updates. Do you have anything there, Doug?
No, I'm sorry. I was waiting. I was ahead of you. I was on to
Pistol
On
permit.
the gun permit,
Gun
trying to
permit,
pistol
right.
permit, right, Woodstock. There's no grant considerations?
no. I'm sorry.
Okay. New business. Consider granting a temporary pistol permit to Richard, I can't say this last name. Gazian? Bugasian, okay.
I'll make that
Sounds like a
motion.
nice Italian name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Doug Cutler, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of granting this to Richard, signify by
Any
saying aye.
discussion?
Any discussion?
Yes, there is.
Go ahead.
I know you had a DUI,
Yes, sir, when I was 23 years old.
okay? Was that a misdemeanor or a felony?
I have no idea. I spent the night in jail. It cost me $4,000. That's not on my record. I know that. I had a shyster lawyer who told me you get reduced to reckless driving. I know it cost me $4,000, and it's all I knew when I was told to go home.
And nothing came up on the background check with
Nothing
the
came up. I
FBI
know
or
it's
the
not a
state police?
felony.
Yeah, so it can't be a felony?
I don't think felonies were changed over for DUI until the last past years when it started
Right.
becoming problems for.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So
fair enough.
sin, cast the first stone. All those in favor of granting Richard a permit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Well, God bless America, Richard, you got a
Thank you
gun.
very much, boy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or pistol, whatever they call it. The second is a temporary permission to Scott
Division.
Division.
Another good Italian name.
You have that
Armenian.
motion?
Another
Motion made by Doug Cutler to grant this pistol permit. Is there a second? Discussion.
Yes.
All right.
I noticed that you didn't fill out the full form. I'm looking at, on the page 3 of 4, 2 from the bottom. Are you currently on probation, parole, work release, yada, yada,
Sir.
yada, yada? There's no yes.
Sir, you want to look at my
No, but I'm
credentials?
saying you didn't, I didn't know
I'm
that.
sorry, no, I'm not on, I'm hired by the state of Connecticut Department of Corrections. I have no background, no criminal.
So, it's no.
Yes, sir.
And have you ever been the subject of a protective order or restraining order?
Negative.
Okay, so there's just, the reason it brought to my attention, I gotta
Okay.
do my due diligence when I see it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, board.
See, the discussion's over. Nice diligence. All those in favor of giving Scott a temporary pistol permit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? I got this last one. Consider granting a temporary pistol permit to Michelle Green.
That's simple.
That's why I got that
Make that
one.
motion.
Motion by Scott Penfack. Scott. Sorry, you guys look so much alike.
Ouch.
Motion made by Scott Benoit.
Scott Benoit.
Pete Benoit. Second by Doug Cutler.
All right, Pete Penpack.
Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Michelle,
for your
you're the proud
patience.
recipient from the pistol. Okay. Holy smoke. Consider approving a resolution on page 3 of this item. Information of authorizing the mayor to sign State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Master Municipal Agreement for right-of-way projects. Vote is required. So we need a motion on that and a vote.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Douglas Cutler.
Second.
Second by Owen Tar. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, signify.
Excuse me.
You're a little slow on the draw.
Yeah. Doug, what are the basic changes? And did Bill look at this?
No, Bill did not look at this. This is along the lines of the Master Municipal Agreement that we had on construction projects, and they just following along now that anything having to do with right-of-ways. Basically what they've done is they've taken a lot of the boilerplate that you normally get with a construction project, and they've attached it as a Master Municipal Agreement, so that then what you just basically get on a project is just a project letter, as opposed to, and this will suffice to cover all the other boilerplate information that the state of Connecticut requires on any contract.
And as a result, this will be something that will be more readily available as we go forward?
It would more streamline the process, hopefully. That's the whole thing.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Item E, consider the memorandum of agreement regarding the use of federal fiscal year 2013 state homeland security grant funding and custodial ownership of regional assets in DEHMS Region 4.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Elm. Second by Owen Tar. Discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't quite follow what that was all about.
I don't know what DEHMS is myself.
Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Okay.
What happens is that the state of Connecticut gets a certain pot of money from the federal government, and instead of applying it to each of the individual towns, what they try to do is pool it. There's a, as you probably know, there's a region coordinating committee. They're the ones that make the decision that determine how this money is allocated on a regional basis in terms of whatever the regional needs are. Usually it doesn't mean that an individual fire department gets any money or an individual police department gets any money. They basically determine that it's used for region-wide importance. And so even though the towns usually don't get involved in getting a piece of the action out of this grant, it's a requirement that all towns have to review it and sign off on it in order to go forward in terms of the region getting the money. So,
That's more of an acknowledgement.
more an acknowledgement.
Is that something that this board would see if?
No, you could see it, but the thing is that you have representatives and it's your chief elected official that goes down to the regional coordinating committee. It's the regional emergency coordinating committee, and the problem is that Northeast Connecticut is outvoted, or we don't have the same weight of votes as Southeast Connecticut. So usually what we used to do is the mayor would sign a letter to give his proxy to John Filchek, because what was happening is John would go down and vote the weight of the Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments on these issues. We still didn't have the votes to outweigh what Southeast Connecticut won, but now they've changed the bylaws because they outvoted us again and says you can't only give proxies. So.
Okay, thank you.
I noticed if you look at your agenda, E, F, and G are all almost the same issue. So what do you want to do with E? You need a motion on that, Doug?
Yes, you do.
We have a motion.
did the motion.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. F, consider the authorization resolution regarding the execution of the memorandum of understanding regarding the use of federal fiscal year 2013 Homeland Security Grant Funding and Custodial. Motion made by Alice, second by Renee.
Sure.
Discussion?
Yes.
Go.
How does this, Doug, how does this affect us? I mean, I saw like 4 or 5 pieces of
Well,
literature.
how it affects us is if there's a need, let's say, for regional radio equipment, that's how it would affect us. That it would enhance our ability to communicate through antennas or however else the communications would be, as one instance of how it might mean that there's a piece of equipment that would be bought for regional purposes, and maybe it would be housed. I know in an instance, the town of Putnam, the Putnam Fire Department was looking for, I think it was a hazardous materials van, and it was determined that the region would buy the equipment as long as it could be housed at one of the local departments. But it was still for the use of, if it was required on mutual aid, it could be used throughout the region. So it could be required if you had to go down to, Groton, Connecticut with it, that would be the requirement. So those are the types of things that where the equipment would be purchased. It would be determined that it would be of regional value to have this type of equipment or communications. And so that's the reason for these grants.
Fair enough.
Any more discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. G, consideration and review of the purchase order policy authorized by the Board of Finance. You received what they did tonight. And I have a problem with number 1. Effective July 1, 2014, all purchases exceeding 100 must be accompanied by Town of Putnam purchase order number. There are no exceptions. I have no problem with that part. I have a problem with the limit of $100. And I made it a point to talk to the Board of Finance members, sent 2 emails to the chairman, and I guess it was disregarded because they feel as though we do allow blanket purchase orders.
Right.
They're blanket purchase order. You can, we get a lot of stuff from
Mason, WB Mason.
W.B. Mason, so under the blanket, there's no problem. But if Caroline's printer goes down, it's $109 to fix it.
Right.
So then you have a problem. Because it'll take a couple weeks to get that thing repaired. Correct?
The cartridge is $109 for the ink.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a problem there. I guess they see no problem with that. As far as the other thing, it was Mr. Benoit and myself who pushed for this when we were both on the Board of Finance years ago, to have a purchase order system. I don't know. I don't know.
thinking about it though, and I went back and forth, I think I started at 5 down to 250. But in reality, we do a heck of a lot of blanket, correct me if I'm wrong, we do a heck of a lot of blanket orders,
Yes.
okay? So, I don't think $100 is too low. I think $100 is fine. I think if you look at all the towns in the area, they're going down $1. That's what they do. I mean, this is what it is. It doesn't mean there can't be some kind of, there shouldn't be any exception. The whole key is we started a little later than what we should have. But we're right now upon us, and I think we got to go for it and see how it comes out. I'd like to get Sandy in here and get her input. Did she leave?
Yeah.
Okay. But she had, I think mostly everybody on board. Doug, is everybody on board now on this process?
You know, it's a little shaky beginning, but once.
And it is. You start, and if you start at 0, you don't have a
you
shot.
don't have anything.
Okay?
Still
But
don't
if
have
you
a
start at
coffee
100, I still think you
No
have
coffee
a
deal.
shot of getting it right. People will become cognizant of the fact that, hey, listen, we got to process a rec in order to get a purchase order for $100.
Yeah.
And once they become acclimated to it, then it will happen. Rome wasn't built overnight. You're going to have pros and cons over the next probably three or 4 months. But I think it'll work. And I think $100 is the right number. I really do.
Your arguments are convincing me, Peter.
Not yet, though.
Yeah, well, they're convincing me.
I think that's a lot of extra work for the department heads to go and get this done. Just the time that we have to spend to run around to get that purchase order signed. You know, it's a lot of extra work. Even if it's 10 minutes, it's still 10 minutes. And, you know, there's a lot of different things here that, you know, $100 is nothing. This is, you know, it's
Right.
$100 today, like $1.
I
But
mean,
you got to
and this came into being over a purchase of, what, 38,000, something like that? I mean, the reason this came into being what was over a purchase that was much, much higher than $100.
True.
You know, I don't know, because it's not just the department heads. Once it goes through the department heads, then it has to go through Sandy's office. Then it's going to go back to the department heads, then back to Sandy's office. It's not just one set of 10 minutes.
It's a process.
It is.
We must be aware of it. This is a process.
Right.
You can set that number whatever you would like. But once you instill it, 500, if you wanted to use that, it's hard to get people to change from that particular number. By the same token, we have a heck of a lot of blanket purchase orders. And a lot of what you're saying is true, but I don't think you're going to see the numbers you're expecting to see because of the amount of blanket purchase orders that we have.
Part of what bothers me about this is the fact that the heaviest burden is going to be on the person whose assistant was cut from the budget.
The person who's going to be on the hook for this is Sandy.
Right, and her
That's the
assistant was
person.
cut from the budget.
So,
She had asked for an assistant.
but she's okay with this. She's okay with this.
No, I
$100.
realize, okay, but it's just,
See, this is what I'm talking about. So we got to go back, step aside 1 minute and say, what's right for Putnam? What I'm saying to you, we're talking about a person that we cut her assistant is okay with this process to go to do the legwork to make sure it happens. She's been working in concert with Denise
yeah,
and other
She
people
has. I know
to make
this.
sure that this happens.
I know this.
You're going to have problems starting up a little bit. When people become acclimated to the full system, it will work.
I'm not questioning that.
So,
None of us are questioning that. It's simply the dollar amount that,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The Board of Finance met before we met, and they voted on this, correct? I see 4 names here. Were these the only 4 people that were at this meeting?
Yes.
And was the vote unanimous?
Yes.
All of them were in favor of it? Okay.
I had a problem with the process, Peter, because certain situations have arisen where it puts Putnam in an embarrassing situation. Example, Willie Busquet had to have a key made to give to the painter to paint the bandstand. Goes to Obashan, you have an account there.
It wouldn't make a 49-cent key because we had no money in the account.
Do you have a blanket order with them?
With them?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just one example. And if Sandy gets shot tonight, everything's at a standstill because she's the only one that could.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect the issue, Tony. If it's a 49-cent pot, this isn't $100. So that doesn't even come into play. That doesn't come into play.
You, in your mind, have agreed that this is the best system. I think a purchase order is a good system, but the way it works, only one person has the authority to approve and release checks and approve and release purchase orders right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong. One person in the entire town hall.
Am I correct or not? Does her assistant still work with us or not?
Her assistant?
Yeah.
There is
Okay.
someone who does,
Okay,
she
and
does not work with AccuFund.
But
She does not touch that system.
am I correct or not? Isn't she going to be shown that? That's what I was told.
With purchase orders?
Denise can answer for
With the
her.
process.
I don't think it's proper to ask Denise
Yeah.
what
Okay.
the treasurer is going to do, because that's
I went to Sandy and said that Denise, Caroline Perrin, Elena Savages, Shayna, is her name? Shayna should all be trained in OccuFund. Those are the 4 girls who work primarily with numbers and budgets and purchase orders. Not one. So that'll be 5
I don't have
people.
a problem with that.
Well, there seems to be a problem because it hasn't taken place yet. And I sent her a letter 2 weeks ago.
That's the first I hear this. That's the first I hear. I agree I couldn't be more supportive of your idea of having multiple people. We only have one person that's got purchase orders right now?
Yes.
So-
And the only one person that has the authority to cut a purchase order and to release a check. So if she, God forbid, but if she were to be hit by a car and not make it.
So why don't we make, that can be a change that can be made where we can have multiple people trained in the process of purchase order cutting. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Except if that happens and when it's screwed up, where does the buck stop? That's the question.
Well,
The
you
whole
might-
point of the policy is that the buck stops there. Is that there is one person who sees every purchase order, who checks it against the budget, who makes sure it's approved, and then who puts it through. The more people you have involved in that process, the more chance there, especially in different offices, the more chance that there is that something is going to get approved as a purchase order that is not in fact a budgeted expenditure. And that's the problem we had to begin with.
But if they're all on OccuFund, they can see everybody's budget and see if there's money in their line item for that particular thing.
And
If they're using it properly, correct.
But
And
they're
the
not, they haven't been
system-
trained on it.
If they're
I don't
using
know
it,
the big
it's-
issue why the other girls can't be trained in OccuFund.
I think there has been some level of training on AccuFund, and my impression is that there were then some problems with people's use of AccuFund. I don't feel comfortable stating more than that, but that's my impression.
So it's
Well,
either a training issue or,
It's a complex system, and unless you're working with it, I understand with complex systems, unless you're working with it every day on a regular basis, it can be tricky.
Yes, Doug.
Just listening to the conversation, it appears to me that regardless of this proposed policy, that's an issue that has to be dealt with,
Yes.
whether we vote for this policy or not.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how that has any bearing on this. So,
Yeah, it's a separate issue.
maybe we should
It's
just,
a separate issue.
Let's
agreed.
vote on this policy.
that's where I'm going. Let's discuss the policy, not
Yeah.
the surrounding
Need a motion
issues.
In a second, then the discussion. Is there a motion to approve this policy?
Yes, I make that motion.
I second it.
Are you two in cahoots or anything? Okay, motion made and second.
I just want to discuss it.
Discussion. Go.
Yeah,
Discussion.
I understand that.
On the policy, not on all the other junk.
I think most of the concerns have been stated already.
I think it's clear we need to do something to improve this process.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that.
Yeah,
It's
I
just the
think-
amount of money. It's
Yeah.
just too little.
Peter convinced me to go with the $100. I will yield to Peter's arguments and agree with him and say $100 is okay. So I'm not gonna vote against it, I'm gonna vote for it. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel good.
Okay.
I think too.
We've been pushing for this since we've been on the board of
It's
finance.
good to happen, I'm not saying it's that, but the money.
But I think it's two, you hit it on the nose. It's two separate issues.
Yes.
We have a board, finance,
Yeah.
that unanimously approved this. Okay, so it's not one or two or three, it was all four. All four that attended this meeting approved it.
Your finger was over the other one.
Here it is, right here.
And I'm sorry, I'm not.
I think
saying
it's
that.
I've been in business a long time. And I can tell you this, I ran a $30 million company. And I can tell you this, every cent that was spent, we had a purchase order. We had a lot of blanket purchase orders, just like Putnam does. And I think people can adjust to this being $100, and I think we can get by the other issues, but I don't think we should talk about that just yet. But I think it's the right amount. I went over the amounts 500.
Alma, you got
Then
the
I
floor.
started asking questions. What are the other towns doing? Thompson. They're under 100. And there's a town that's behind the scenes as far as Putnam is concerned, and they've had a purchase order system up a long time ago. And here we're still talking about the same systems.
Peter, let Alma have the floor, will you?
I'm not-
Sorry about that.
Nobody's arguing with you. Again, I just agree that the $100 might be a little low, but what my suggestion is we go with the $100, and then if it becomes labor intensive, which I'm sure it may be, we can change it and increase it to another amount.
The discussion.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Any more discussion on this item? We have a motion, a second. We had a discussion. All in favor of the new formal policy for purchasing in the town of Putnam? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it, so voted. We'll address the other problem shortly, Peter.
Thank you.
Behind closed doors on the baseball diamond. Okay. H, consider the appointment of Don Steinbeck to the zoning commission as an alternate for the term to expire December 5th, 2017.
So I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Consider the appointment of Democrat George Tanjuris to the Putnam Facilities Group.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Doug, second by Alma. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of appointing Mr. Tanjuris, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Consider the appointment of Democrat Linda Garcia to the Putnam Facilities Group.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion.
Yes, please.
Go.
How many Democrats are on this commission?
Just as many as Sarah told me to put on there. I don't know. It's not an equal distribution.
No, I know it, but are there any Republicans?
Oh, yeah.
Doug's on it,
Doug's on it.
and
It's a good group.
Norm Perrin's on it.
Parents on
Oh,
these
okay.
Republicans.
Doug, Norm
We did
Perrin,
stack them to
Nick
death.
Longo.
Nick Longo's here, you got the
Nick Longo.
Yeah.
All right.
No, he's gonna stay on now, we got an active committee.
Oh, good.
Oh,
He's
see
saying,
now?
Alan
You're bringing
Roston.
flavor in.
There's actually might be more Republicans than
there
Democrats.
might be more Republicans than Democrats.
Well, it was until tonight. But that's okay.
I don't know.
Good people.
Alan Ross is not on it anymore?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Hey,
He's the
He
chairman.
resigned, but now he didn't.
No, he resigned. Formally.
That was a bogus talk. All in favor
Good
of
to have
Linda
him, but I
Garcia?
guess I thought he was-
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Accept the resignation of Gloria Marion as an alternate. She has been appointed to a full member to the zoning commission.
Make the motion.
Motion made. Second. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of this resignation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. L, approve and award the Putnam Middle and Elementary School parking lot bid to SAS Construction for the price of $276,400.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion.
Just tell him to go to the fire station first, will you?
Oh.
Did you put that out to bid too, Doug?
Seeing there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Approve the award of the bus, why did they put these initials? RFP, what does that stand for?
Request for
Request
proposal.
for pricing.
Why did they write it out?
Sorry.
To the school lines, per the recommendation of the Board of Education, vote required. This, by the way, is $1 more than the bus from last year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Alma to approve.
Second.
Second by Owen. Discussion.
Yes.
Go.
What bidding process did we use?
They put it out to bid, and two people bid on it. One was this place, the
What
other.
kind of bid did they use? Is that a state bid they used? Or
No, they use their own bid specification.
the own bid, okay.
There's only so many companies that do school buses.
Yes,
So.
okay.
And speaking, before we vote on this, I've been inundated by the seniors of Putnam
Oh, boy.
to procure a bus for the seniors, which they had before. They can't use a charter bus because the guy rates them for the cost is outstanding. You can't use a school bus per se with town of Putnam on it because it's against the law to transport adults in a school bus. So we have to get the bus from the Board of Education, paint it, white, blue, green, whatever color they want. The school will keep it in their fleet, but Willie Busquet will have the direction to use that bus to get seniors to go to ball games, shopping,
that was an
dinners,
extra bus.
so on and so on. So as soon as this bus gets approved and it comes online, then the last bus that they're going to retire will get that bus. It'll come to the town under the auspices of the school, so it'll make both sides happy. So I just want to let you guys know about that before the seniors tar and feather me and Willie. Okay, all those in favor of the recommendation of the Board of Education signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Research electric bills.
This is something that Scott and Pete had asked that we put on the agenda after budget stuff was over because we felt that we could get a cheaper rate. As you're going through signing the bills, you thought we were paying too
Right.
much for electricity.
Right. So I guess I have to wait. What's the protocol here? You want to
What we could
have a
do-
meeting with Scott and you and I?
The three of you, Scott, Doug, and CLMP, Canadian, whatever the heck it is, all people service us?
Well, the thing is, I think this would probably be, because we're locked in with TransCanada.
They're cheaper.
They're cheaper right now. So what we would do is all the other accounts, we could put those out to bid as one and see bids instead of, company calling us up.
Yeah.
What we've been doing is the company call us up and they, they're locking us low rate for about
About a week.
a week.
Yeah.
And then all of a
then it
sudden you're
changes.
seeing,
I'm seeing
like
them and
Spark
then-
Energy go up twice what they had bid us. So
Okay.
I think, we do it as a
Can't
bid.
lock them in like for a year?
Well, we will, but what we had been doing is just, when they call and they've offered us lower than we've taken them up on the offer, but then all of a sudden I'm hearing that, the bills are.
There's a lot of different rates in those bills.
Right.
Yeah.
None are the same.
They're not, that's the point. See, once you do it contractually
Yeah.
over a year, then you're going to get that same rate.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. They're all over the
Yeah.
place.
So
So TransCanada, you're with right now, that's fine. But the other ones send out the bid and
Yeah.
let's see what they
Let's
come
see
up
what
with.
they come back with.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do that.
Gonna do some RFPs then?
You don't need us for that, do you?
No.
So you're gonna take care of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All it is a matter of just listening to the accounts and our usage and,
We got all the bills in there.
yeah, all I got the bills. So.
Pick them up.
Item O for Owen. Approval of bills.
Make a motion with approve the bills.
Motion made to approve the bills.
Second.
Second, discussion.
Yes. Remember last month there was one bill that we did not approve? What happened with that?
I paid it under the auspices that we'd have a sit-down with the town attorney that we just talked about before.
Okay, so
Is
that's
paid.
straightened out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, other items lawfully coming before this board.
We need to vote.
Oh, we need to vote on approve the bills. All those in favor of approve the bills?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Are there any abstentions? This magazine comes out monthly. It's for everybody, and I get a copy, Doug gets a copy, and it goes through all 169 towns. And we are the proud recipients of two huge articles in here.
I'll either mail them tomorrow.
One is our first Friday events, and the other is the Tech Park.
In there?
No, not in air. In air.
Yeah.
I'll email
So that
copies
goes to
tomorrow.
every town in
Or tonight.
Connecticut. Every elected official looks at this and says, holy smoke, this first Friday sounds good. And there's also I just want to read one sentence that, well, some of you didn't know this, but you will know.
God bless you. Whoever you are.
Putnam pitching partnership in the regional tech park. I think we talked enough about the tech park, and you don't know about that. I think I can build the park in my head right now. But I have to find the first Friday thing. It was very interesting, and Delta Berry gets the credit for writing this thing to them, or getting it spot on. First Fridays in Putnam hit the news. It goes on about how good it is and everything else. Barry said, marketing events like First Friday promote the beneficial relationship between town, art, culture, antiques, and realtor sector. Employees with plans to relocate always consider whether the area will be one that their workers would want to settle down. We're having a 30-second promo is a chance to show off Putnam's uniqueness and charm. So there's going to be a 30-second film about Putnam, downtown. I do the intro. Doug gets intro, and then there's just 30 seconds all about Putnam. And the camera's going all the way downtown. We're going to try and do it in the fall when everything is nice, the colors, blah, 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 as just a promotional thing for the town of Putnam.
How about
It
when we
costs
have the-
us zero.
How about when we have the car cruise?
Car cruise.
Yeah, big show coming up.
Too crowded.
Too crowded.
Yeah.
So I just want to let you know that
Be
this
hard
is
to film that.
this is coming up, which is very good. Second item, which should be of interest to all the selectmen and all the townspeople. We're running into a problem with the water department in one of our fields. Owen Tar Park, not because he's sitting here, sits right, you all know where Owen Tar Park is. Well, we got to shut down the irrigation system that cost us $60,000 to put in because the water department wants to charge us $4,000 a month to water that thing in this tough season. And I'm saying it's not for, no one's making money, it's for the kids. It's for the fields, it's for baseball, softball, whatever. And he's got to shut it down, and he's going to have to close the park because it's going to be a brownfield.
We need the reseed part of it. We need the water.
Can't we sort of like make rescind the whatever they're doing right now and make a change in that philosophy in terms of that? It's all, yeah, it's
Yeah, I know. A lot of people are, if Willie shuts it down, I can see the outcry going, how much you said it. My water bill is paying for that. You shouldn't water that for the kids. He's got to be at the most minimum amount of water he put there because it would kill Willie's budget. You take $4,000 a month, April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, that's $24,000. He doesn't have that in there.
How much? Oh, sorry.
I think he's got a couple thousand for watering, and that's about it. Not 24 grand.
I'll tell you what, in the East Putnam Fire District, we're in the same boat because we have to pay for any of the hydrants that are in our district. We pay to the WPCA, one municipality to another, $7,000.
So how much had Willie been paying?
And this is for
before
fire,
this?
this is for fighting fires. We have to pay to get this water. It doesn't matter where we get water from, we pay $7,000 to have those hydrants,
Whether you used it or not?
whether we use it or not.
Excuse me, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Owen?
I mean, that was one bill we got for 4,000. I don't know if that was for 1 month, 2 months. I'm not sure about that.
It must be quarterly.
Yeah, that would be a quarter.
Well, no, it's, if it was a business,
But
I can understand it, but you're taking away something that the residents pay their taxes for. The kids have a
They
place.
pay the taxes for the rec park, they don't pay the taxes for the.
That's what I'm saying, they pay their taxes for the rec park, and if you can't water it, you gotta shut it down.
What do you have?
What do you have?
yeah,
And then as this
But-
gentleman said
But
before,
if you,
there's
again,
only limited
we
fields.
pay water, we pay our water bill here, everybody's
I
required to pay
understand that.
the water bill.
This is
For the kids.
adults. talking about kids. They have
Right,
nowhere
there's
to go.
another way in.
There's 400 kids that use that park. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you know, August, September, you know, now there's no soccer there, but that's a lot of kids, and if we have to shut it down, where are they gonna go?
But isn't it, you know, I agree with you, we should keep it.
To me, it's so stupid.
But it's really 2 months, it's July and August are the real two
You
pressing
know,
months.
some June, in June and September, you wouldn't have to do it so much.
Right.
You know, you do it at night, it's gonna be even better.
My suggestion is this board meet with Jim Shaw and the WPC Water Board to come up with a little more reasonable suggestion. Maybe a
agree with
discount, maybe something.
I agree with that.
I can't see us shutting down a park. And Willie said, I'd have to go before the Board of Selectmen. I said, what if we vote done? No, you can't shut it down. He goes, we can't reseed because we need water. We can't use the water because it costs too much. And he says, the Board of Selectmen are constantly yelling at me because they overspend my budget. He said,
What
"I'm not gonna
happens
do
if they
that."
use the water from a little river?
To get it to,
Still goes
I'm
the
gonna get it
same.
there.
Still the same thing.
I'm gonna
Goes
get
the
it there.
same.
And as Doug said, I'm not sure, there's a big fire hydrant there, but I don't know if they can use that.
Well, you're gonna pay for it anyway.
We'll drill a well up there.
That's a dead fire right there.
So can we schedule a joint meeting?
I'll call Jimmy Shaw tomorrow and see if we can get a meeting together and get this squared away. That would make all.
I feel like Owen feels, I mean, you have the kids.
Well, the whole
4 or
rec
5
department thought it was stupid. that we didn't.
It doesn't make much sense. Well, he brought it to my attention a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was an insane thing to do, but that's them. We'll see what happens. So we gotta schedule a bidding meeting, schedule a water meeting.
Let's go.
I got
Let's get them done.
I got it.
You know what I like to do? Cross things out.
Yeah, but we gotta
I'm
get.
the guy
get-
that
get-
crosses things out.
All right. Don't cross Doug out. We kinda like it. All right. Any other business that lawfully come before us this board? I have a staff meeting Wednesday with the selectmen, like to bring anything up to all the department heads. I only have a small list. So, you wanna add something, let me know.
I addressed the issue with the purchase orders with them, that
It's on here. It's number 4. I like to put it down and cross it right off. It's down there.
Put it up top.
I also have a new, oh, by the way, we all went to the sexual harassment clinic. All the department
pass?
heads. I passed with flying colors. Doug was a little shaky.
Yeah, I was worried there.
So
Him and Jerry together, oh my God.
me and Bobo got in trouble. But a bunch of things coming up. By the way, so to put your minds to rest. There is, right across from the courthouse, what's the name of that place?
The crossing?
The
Empty
art
spaces.
studio.
Empty space.
Empty spaces.
Oh.
There's a statue.
Yeah.
2 guys, arms on each other's shoulders, and their penises are showing. And some people take offense to that. We've gotten 4 or 5 calls, and I basically told them nicely, don't go to Europe. Don't go to Italy. Don't go to France. I said it's artwork. Some people see it as disgusting. Others see it as artwork. You know, don't bring your kids in. We've asked and requested they move it back a little farther away, and it does bother some people. And if that's what you have to worry about, I don't know. I mean, you go to the Vatican, you see bare breast, you see more penises than you can imagine in the Vatican. So there you go. So Doug, forget your trip. You're out. All right.
Is that where you're going?
No, Orlando.
We're going to Orlando with Roger Fry. Nice. Okay, the last item is public comment, 3-minute maximum. Anybody else would like to speak? Yes, sir.
I'd like to touch on some of the things I heard tonight. First,
Glad
the
you came.
purchase order. If we have a $100 purchase order and we know that we go through X amount of ink and it's $109, I would purchase 2. When you get down to 1, you repurchase. That way you're ahead of the game. Accountability is the main thing that citizens want to see across the country, not necessarily with this town, but with politics in general. Accountability, I think, is the biggest thing. Secondly, I can't fathom that there's only one person that can approve it. In my household, if I get sick, my wife pays the bills. If I'm the only one that can pay the bills, and I'm in the hospital for a month, nobody's paying my mortgage.
We're going
Nobody's
to take
paying
care
my
of
bills.
that. That will be taken care of.
Secondly, the fields. Obviously, you're going to touch on that. if you push those kids to Murphy, you're pushing the baseball kids out of there.
There's
Um,
too much order down there.
There was one other thing. Can I come back in a minute? When Give me a second. I don't have a pen, so I can write it down.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
The older you get, remember.
Mr. Zanone.
Oh, yes, Denone, 85 Vandale Street. In regards to the SAS bid, are they currently doing any project at the middle school right
Yes.
now?
Yeah, they're doing that project.
That project?
274,000.
Have they started?
But,
Yes.
yeah, well, that's my question, is if the money's just been approved this evening, how come they've already started?
They were doing last year, fixing up last year's project, that's why all their equipment was there. So this, they just was a carryover for this year.
Would you tell them there was what, there was 8 people that visited the site, 8 contractors,
Three bids.
and there was 3 bids that came back. as a
There were
result.
100.
Well, no, I mean, I noticed them starting the work at the end of June. And this is the piece of machinery that I mentioned at the last meeting that I saw
That's
pinching
the
the
stove on there.
pea gravel.
That's the
Stove.
stove.
That's a nice stove, that's your dinner.
Nice hamburger on there.
Yeah.
Nice casserole.
Come on.
I was told the same thing,
David.
that they were finishing off some work
Last year.
from last year.
Last year's project. That's before July 1.
All right, yeah, all right. This is the guilty backhoe dumpster that was pinching pea gravel from the back of the armory. All right, I identify it by the numbers, and it's colored, and I told you it was a Volvo, and that is the one.
Did you call the police when they were doing that?
No, it didn't really seem, well, to what? I saw a backhoe pinch some gravel and disappear. I mean, you look at the pile, oh, really? No one's gonna know it, but that is the one that I was mentioning. Also, in regard to the Sandra Savoy, you know, at the town meeting, when we did have the agreed on the budget, I had made a motion that the $50,000 that was going from Wheelabrator go to her for her assistant, which it was overruled, of course, because it was not, I guess, proper to do that. But as this gentleman mentioned, and I want to mention to the other people here, accountability is really what we're looking for, and to have a proper personnel to do the job and train the people to do the job is really part of it. You cannot operate a business if you don't know where the money is and where it's going. Also, in the budgeting process, there was, at one time, you may correct me, $10,000 that was appropriated for that. I believe it was line 5608, professional services, which then disappeared from the final budget. But there was $2.2 that was borrowed from the landfill, but none went to that woman.
I
To you,
don't
my
think
friend.
that 10,000 disappeared. I think that was left in the budget. For
Well,
her,
all-
she needed
all-
some extra help,
services.
right? That didn't disappear. That's
Was
still
it
there.
approved for her for extra help?
Yeah.
She needed the extra
Okay,
help.
my
It's still there.
mistake, my mistake.
10,000.
Yeah.
So she didn't, so she got 10,000, but she
She
didn't
didn't
get.
get it. We still got it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
She needs help. It's there.
Well, she needs the help,
Well,
and I hope that you spend it, and I hope that you can appropriate more money to have the accountant or the treasurer do her job. My understanding is in regards to the software, the what is that called?
AccuFund.
AccuFund is that they don't want too many people licensed to deal with that. So that's why I think she's the only one that has authority to do that. But you'll have to talk to her.
Taken
All
care
right,
of.
you're welcome.
Anybody else? Mr. Globe, you two guys are the same kind of.
The neighbors, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I met him
Rumor
recently.
mill.
All right, okay.
He likes coming
He's
here.
like the Pied Piper, he brought a lot of people.
Well, word's getting out.
You said you were gonna talk to Chief Hayes
Yes, I will.
about selective enforcement. Everywhere in the special district that he handles is selective enforcement. There's sergeants, one does one thing, the other one does another thing. We have places on Grove Street where churches set up their own handicap area. We have cars parking at yellow curb. We have Daily Bread setting up signs and blocking parking. And some sergeants go by and just tag cars, some sergeants go by and tell people to move cars. But the one thing I really wanted to talk about is your first Friday. First Friday, you take away a lot of parking places. Yet, there's some parking places that are 20 minutes for 24 hours, and they're tagging cars that are there for First Friday when they need those spots. And I stopped what you call an auxiliary policeman when he was tagging a car. I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You took all these parking places away, why don't you hang bags over these signs and let people park? He went away, he never tagged anymore the rest of the night. Well, they were there. So that's selective enforcement. But you know, you got one bank in Putnam, gets one parking place for 20 minutes until 3 o'clock. Another bank in Putnam gets 3 parking places for 20 minutes for 24 hours. Now, who fixes these kind of things? You got a question on what I just said?
I don't think, I thought the other bank, first of all, had at least 2 spots. It's not 2 versus 3, but that's my memory. I would have to look at
I believe
Main
it's
Street.
1 versus 3, 1 for 3 o'clock, 1 for 24 hours. So 3 in front of Putnam Bank gets 24 hours. That's where,
Because he doesn't have a drive-through ATM machine, so that's why he has the extra spot in front of his bank.
Okay.
Most other banks have
Yeah.
drive-through ATM before your time. You never use an ATM.
you understand what I'm saying
I
about
understand
First
what you're
Friday?
saying, but that
But it's just
explains
like a
it then.
cop. I can't tell a cop, ticket this guy, but don't ticket that guy.
Well,
Human
that's what they're
nature.
doing. That's what they're doing. We got
You
all
might do the
these
same
issues.
thing, and so would I. If we're walking the beat and we see Daily Bread, all right, the guy's in the grass grill, let's just walk by. He's got to get food for his family. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but they ticket some one week, and then they don't ticket them the next week. They go in and tell the people, move the cars. I'm just telling you,
Yeah, I know
there's
what you're
selective
saying.
enforcement going on. But when you have this First Friday deal, somebody had to decide to take away parking spaces.
Putnam Business Association.
Okay, if they can take away parking places, why can't they put bags over the ones that people want to use that really the bank inside?
I'm not saying they're taking away. They're in charge for that day to bring people in town so that they enjoy culture, art, and spend money in our restaurants and stores. That's the bottom line.
So, I realize, and every time a person gets a ticket, he says, I'll never come back again.
Right. And he'll be back next week.
Well, I'm just saying,
Not smiling.
I hope that the committee that brings back the report on changing things in the charter decides to get rid of the whole
Charter has nothing to do with the police.
Well, if you have a charter that gets rid of the Special Service Vision Commission, then you guys would run the police. And that would make more sense. So, I guess that's the final part of my thing.
Nice.
Get rid of what we call the problem. Because I can come in here and see somebody, but I can't go over there and see anybody.
At the police station?
No, not the police station, I'm talking about the Special Service Commission. There's nobody that you can talk to.
Do you go to
about-
meetings? Do you try to talk to anyone after special service district meetings, or before or after?
They have one
meet
meeting-
once a month, and there's nobody
And
there
it's
but a
tonight.
secretary once in a while, and you
No.
can ask her something, and she said, I don't know anything.
You could probably
Yeah.
set
They
an
have
appointment
meeting-
like you can with
They do
Tony.
have a meeting once a month,
Yeah.
and you ought to go there. And that's the problem.
I've been
Not
there
enough
once.
citizens go to these kind of meetings. I know when I went, I was the only one there. Then the next time I went, there were 2 or 3 people there. We encourage more people to come to these kind of meetings.
Disband it, bring it all here.
That ain't gonna happen, not until the charter changes, and I don't see that happening.
Well, we'll have to get some more citizens to push.
You remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Scott Division,
Awesome.
4 Shepherd Lane. The blight issue. I see blight as more of a money issue for these people. And if we are looking at solutions to keep on taxing them money or fining them money, they're never going to be able to fix the solution. So maybe somehow, some committee find a way of maybe incorporating ways or ideas to help these people. The other thing that probably angered me the most about the blight issue before it became a referendum is I used to live on Woodstock Ave. When you live 1 mile within the high school or the middle school, your kid has to walk. We want to incorporate, or before the thing came, want to incorporate blight and the police to find them. But nobody ever finds the people that don't plow the sidewalk, that my kid has to walk through and then get to school. And if he chooses not to walk on the sidewalk, he has to walk on the road.
Right.
So I think before we look to do the, I don't know, the look of the town, we should be enforcing the safety issues of the town. Safety should be first.
How do you tell a 75-year-old retired guy that he's got 12 inches of snow on this huge long walk? You got to shovel your driveway. He has no relatives. He's got no money. What do you do? I'm trying to work on a deal with the high school starting next year. These kids need community service.
Yes, and that's probably the biggest thing.
We're going to try and
I personally, on my side of the road, walked up and didn't care whose it was because I ain't making my kid bring another pair of shoes. I ain't making him walk in the road. It's not safe. And I think before we look to, and maybe I should have came before the blight issue, and it goes back to selective enforcement. It is up to the police officer, just like it is up to me in the prison, to enforce what little rules there is. But we as a community should try to come up with some types of solutions that aren't going to cost the taxpayers a ton of money, or some type of committee or something.
What you're saying is true, and I'm looking. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people out of a town of 9,000. We're the ones that set the mill rate. We're the ones that set the budget. So try and get volunteers to do something.
Trust me, I've been
I know
fighting
what you're saying.
for Little League volunteers. I coach, I umpire, I
know
do
what you're
everything
saying.
because we have 6, 7 board members.
I give you guys credit. As much as a pain in the butt Danone is, I'm glad he's here. Oh, I didn't say that just happened. Come on.
No, that's all right.
But he's interested in the town. He does raise some good questions, and it keeps people on their toes. Fine. But it's a tough order. You can't force volunteerism. You can't find someone who has no money. You got to put the laws on the books. Sometimes the laws are kind of dumb, but you got to put them there. And hopefully, I can work this deal at the high school where a kid who needs community service, shovel the guy's lawn, sidewalk, he gets community service. The guy's lawn, walk and shovel. It's safe. Everybody's happy. If that can work out. But I want to tell you right now, some leper in town will call the state. The state will tell me that's involuntary servitude, and you can't make kids do that. I guarantee it's going to happen.
Well,
because people in this day and age are sick.
Well, if it's a safety issue and we can't force money and we can't force people to do it, then maybe we need to wipe off the rule that if you live within 1 mile during the winter, you should be put on a bus route. To protect the kids' protection.
You got to go to the school board. But they can't come here. We can't control it. That's up to them.
Okay. All right, I mean, it's just safety.
I don't even Abe Lincoln speech, but I walk 2 or 3 miles every day to school back. You know,
He didn't walk. He knew it was me. We didn't walk.
Yeah, there was also probably 1/50th of the amount of cars on the road. There probably wasn't DUI issues. There probably wasn't the issues that the population of kids deal with today.
For sure.
So,
A lot of signals.
thank you for your time.
See you in this.
Can I just follow up on that for 1 second?
Come on, Mr. Bull.
I can, okay.
We've heard you 6 times today. Yeah, look at time. It's
We'll
8:30.
probably come back in the winter then.
Come back in the winter. Mr. Murray, I'll call tomorrow and try and get that squared.
No, I got something else I want
More.
Yes.
Go ahead.
John
This
Perry,
is it.
since we're on the subject of blight and safety on town property, I've asked Chief Hayes to do something about this.
You and Chief Hayes aren't getting along.
And they're leaving,
Junk vehicles.
he collects junk and he leaves it on town property until he decides, and leaves that vehicle on a jack. Somebody's gonna get, one of the little kids that play in the parking lot, somebody's gonna get hurt.
It'll also be on my list for Mr. Hayes tomorrow. Okay. Would anyone like to adjourn this meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Thank you all for coming. Come again next week.